record. I'm just hitting the record button so that we can share this with you later, and you can share the recording with anybody who is not able to join us tonight, or just review it yourself if you want to see all of these gorgeous pictures again. My name is Liz Fleming. I'm the General Manager of North-South Travel, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of housekeeping notes, and then I'm going to turn this presentation over to Jane Patrick from our office, who will be joining you on this amazing adventure. And also Ellen McIlvaine from Ponant Yacht Cruises. She's the Business Development Manager. And she's going to, as you see, share her screen and tell you all about this incredible adventure, the amazing destination of Papua New Guinea, and about what it's like to be on board and enjoy the experience of a Ponant Yacht Cruise. As I mentioned, I'm going to be recording the presentation. You have all been placed on mute. That's just to cut down on the background noise. I encourage you all, if you have questions, to type them into the chat box as we go along. There will be time at the end of this presentation for some live Q&A, but if you have questions as we continue with the presentation, please just go ahead and type them in the chat box. Sorry, I'm just gonna let in a couple of more people here. There we go. While Ellen is giving her presentation, I will monitor the chat. In the presentation itself, we're going to cover, of course, the destination. We're going to talk about what life is like on board a Ponant yacht. And I'm going to give Ellen and Jane, sorry, as I've tried to multitask here, it's not my best thing. I'm going to give Ellen and Jane a chance to introduce themselves. So some of you already know Jane Patrick. She is an adventure specialist with North-South Travel and a native Australian. So this, I'm sure, is going to be very near and dear to her heart. Jane will be able to help you, of course, with booking the cruise, but also if you have any desire to spend pre and post time in Australia or the South Pacific, she can certainly help you with that. Ellen is the Business Development Manager for Ponant Yacht Cruises and very familiar with the product. She was telling me prior to the presentation starting that she has visited this destination many times and it is one of her favorites. So I'm sure she'll tell you all about that. And with that, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Jane and to Ellen, and I'm going to get my ugly mug off the face. But I encourage the presentation, but I encourage you all to sit back, relax, enjoy, have some wine, which is what I intend to do as I look at this amazing presentation and destination. So over to you, lovely ladies. Thank you, Ellen.
Thanks so much, Liz. I am super, super excited about this destination. It's somewhere I have really been wanting to go for a long, long time. Ellen has been in the office talking about Papua New Guinea for many years. And I finally wanted to create something where some of you already know me, but I wanted to create a trip where a lot of you haven't traveled before, and a place that's really exciting and adventurous, but also, you know, retains that sense of, you know, safety and comfort, which is kind of why we've partnered with Ponant on this cruise. So we, as Liz mentioned, we'll have a question and answer period at the end, but I just wanted to say hi to you all and to say that I am super excited about this trip, and I hope you can join me on in November next year, after the pandemic's all over, on this journey. Over to you, Ellen.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you, Liz. Thanks everybody for joining. As Liz said, I could not be more excited to talk about anything than I am this destination and this itinerary. I'm Ellen McIlvaine. I'm the Director of Business Development for Ponant Yacht Cruises and Expeditions in the Northwest US. And of course, I cover BC and Alberta, Canada as well. So I'm based in Portland, Oregon. As I was preparing this presentation, and I just got, honestly, like maybe it's because I haven't been able to travel in so long, I got quite emotional thinking about this destination. It's so, so special to me. And this picture here, this is what it looks like when you fly into Port Moresby or into Cairns or out of Honiara. You're going into this region where these reefs, and it's just the most beautiful. You really feel like, okay, I'm about to land in somewhere that's a very, very different. So for those shorter flights, window seat, it's my recommendation because it's so, so beautiful. And a little bit about my experience with this destination before I launch into this particular itinerary. I came to Ponant from working in the expedition travel side of the business. I worked on board small ships, and Ponant is really known for having very unique itineraries, being extremely sustainable, extremely environmentally conscious, and being luxury. So in the Venn diagram where those three things are overlapping, right in the middle, you'll see Ponant. My first job on board an expedition ship was to Papua New Guinea. And I thought, oh my goodness. And so I did work for about 4 years. I would go a few times a year. I've been to New Guinea. I guess for about 4 years, I would go at least once a year, sometimes twice. I think I've been 6 times to New Guinea. And it also happened to be the last contract that I worked as a cruise director and Zodiac driver was in New Guinea. And on my last one, I told my mom, you gotta come. This is my favorite place in the entire world. And so here's my my picture of take your mother to work day. It's my mom in a dugout canoe on my last trip working in this region. And I must just say, I got just it's such a special place. If you're even a little bit interested, you'll love it. It's so, so worth it. So the voyage that we'll talk about today, I'm so thrilled with it. When Jane said she was interested in the destination, we had another trip planned for 2020. Obviously, things were what they were. I think this is better for us, Jane, because I really am happy with this itinerary. It's slightly different. It includes these stops in the Solomon Islands, and I feel like we couldn't design it any better. So I'm so, so thrilled. It's in November of 2022. We have plenty of time to get ready. We know we will definitely want to travel by then. And North-South travel, of course, has some very special rates. But before we get into all of that, I just want to talk you through this itinerary and this place in the world. And as Liz said, please put questions in the question box. I'll be happy to answer them. But we're going to start in Cairns, Australia, move up into New Guinea, over to the Solomon Islands. We'll disembark in Honiara. Our lives will have been changed. I'm saying our, like I'm going to go. Like I've just kind of decided, Jane, that I really like visualizing myself. But you know, by the end of it, it'll be just so spectacular. We'll fly back to Brisbane. So big picture, the Coral Triangle. If you are divers or keen snorkelers, you may be familiar with the Coral Triangle. If not, it is this area that is known to have the highest biodiversity of marine life in the world. And so it's the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, New Guinea, Solomon Islands. And the snorkeling there is absolutely spectacular. You don't have to be a diver to just absolutely enjoy it. Snorkeling, if you are a diver, you got to go. But even myself, I'm not a diver, and the best snorkeling. I had the privilege of working on board ships. I've worked on all 7 continents. Somehow it's just the best job in the world. This is the best snorkeling. This is where you're going to go for the snorkeling, and it's not tough. So that's a little bit about the Coral Triangle. So as I said, the highest marine biodiversity on the planet. All areas of this triangle have at least 500 species of reef-building corals. So it's absolutely spectacular. So many different kinds of fish and quite a lot of density. And so you'll also see things here. And again, it's not difficult to see. You're snorkeling, you get in the water, you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I? So you'll just see things that you really can't see anywhere else. So from the marine perspective, water sports, snorkeling, diving, it's a win. It's absolutely spectacular. But that's only part of the reason that expedition cruising in this region is so good. And if you have been on an expedition type of cruise or like a small ship cruise, you may agree. My opinion is the difference between it being a vacation and an experience that really is like the trip of a lifetime, like something that you just think, how is it possible that we can even do that, is when it's a destination that is really best served by ship. And that could not be more true than it is of this region. There's no better way to go to the islands around New Guinea and the Solomon Islands than to go on a small ship. You're not going to fly, you're not going to, you're certainly not going to drive. This is absolutely the only way to go. And it's such fun. So this itinerary has really the best of both culture and nature. So the cultural highlights, we have very rarely visited villages, very deep traditions that are just still, it's not like sometimes you'll go on a cruise maybe or to a destination and somebody does their cultural, they say, this is our, this is a cultural dance. We go to Hawaii, we expect to see hula and, etc. This is not that. This is celebrating lived culture. Nothing against hula, of course, we all love it, but it's like celebrating lived culture that people are doing in their lives. We're seeing how people are actually living in the present, and they're sharing their actual truth of how they live day to day with us. And it is such, it's just so wonderful to experience. The handicrafts are incredible. I told Liz I have props, like I have so many handicrafts from this region. And then, as I mentioned, the natural highlights, but also birding. If you are a birder, and if you're not, you will be by the end of the trip, because it's just really, turns out I am a birder as well. It's very fun. But of course, this is where the birds of paradise are. So we have a few opportunities to see those, as well as amazing geology. So before I get into like the day-to-day of the itinerary, I kind of want to give you an idea of a typical day on an expedition cruise in a region like this. So we're going to be on board Le Soleil. I'll show you that beautiful ship in a moment. It's going to arrive off of an island in the early morning as the sun is coming up. And often before the anchor, well, the ship doesn't always use anchors, but like before we're even really in place, this is a photo that my colleague took from the back deck. We were both standing on the back deck, and there's all of these people in their dugout canoes. We're like, do you need bananas? We're trying to, it's such a lively, interesting place to visit. So it's very exciting that the people will come to you on the ship. And so we'll have breakfast on board, and the expedition team will go out and make sure that everything is in order. If we're snorkeling in the beginning of the day, they'll make sure they have the snorkel site and everything is safe. If we're going into a village, they'll go out and they'll find the local person that we've organized with, and make sure they know that today is the day we have arrived and everything's going to happen. Then once everything is set ashore, we'll go out in our Zodiacs. We'll have a fantastic few hours, typically 2, 3, 4 hours on our excursion. We'll come back on board for lunch. We'll have a lovely lunch on board Le Soleil, cool off a bit. And then whatever we didn't do in the morning, so if we went to the village, then we'll probably snorkel or go to the beach, find a beach, swimming in the afternoon, or vice versa. After our afternoon excursion, we'll all come back on board again. We'll have a recap and briefing with our expedition team, share some things about what we learned, what we did, and what's going to be happening tomorrow. We'll have a lovely dinner. And then in the evenings on board Le Soleil, we have music. There's 2 little very relaxed lounges where there's live music, piano, and so we can have a cocktail, or by this time we're likely very tired and we're just going to bed. So that's kind of the rhythm of a day visiting a community. Our landings and how we're getting there, like how these kind of day-to-day are working. So here's Le Soleil, our vessel, maximum 264 guests. I asked a cruise director on board the ship once how many max it was, and she said, I think 220, because she'd never seen 260 on, because there's rooms that convert to suites, and a lot of solo travelers really love traveling with us. So 264 I've never seen that many people on board. For this voyage, I'm betting it's going to be about 230. Just 230 people. It's not like a big cruise. So we're on our vessel here. We're going to use our zodiacs to go ashore. That's me being extremely helpful. So back in my previous job. But here's an example of one of the trickier landings where we'll pull up to this dock and, we'll help you out of the Zodiac and up and to walk along. Or you're going to land here on a beach like this, and the nose of the Zodiac will gently nudge onto the sand bank and will help you swing your legs over. And every landing likely on this itinerary is going to be a wet landing. That means you're going to get your feet wet, but that's it. It's as simple as that. All right, so let's jump into our itinerary. Okay, so we're starting in Cairns, Australia. I'm sure, as Liz said, Jane would be happy to tell you everything there is to do in Cairns. And we'll embark the vessel in the afternoon. So that's when we really start together with Ponant. And that first evening, we get oriented, we walk around, we see, wow, this is a very cool little yacht we're about to explore on. And our first day is at sea. So now I'm going to show you a little bit about the vessel before we kind of deep dive into each of these destinations, because you're probably exploring the most on that at sea day. As we mentioned, 264 guest max. Almost every room has a private balcony. All of the rooms that we have really special rates for Jane on have private balconies. So with Ponant, our motto is sort of expedition hardware, luxury software. And the luxury is very, I was like, luxury, what does that mean in expedition cruising, and is it important? It just means it's very nice, and it is important because you don't want to go all the way to Papua New Guinea and not be sleeping well. Truly, it's so nice to be sleeping well, to be, to be comfortable in your room, to just put down all of your travel stress and, whatever mental hangups we have about being so far, this long flight that we were just on, just relax. And being relaxed on board, having a very nice ship, again, it's not over the top luxury, it's very just functional and beautiful. Being relaxed allows us to really make the most of these really special days. So to me, that's how I see it. So on board, elegant rooms, we've got 24-hour room service. The food, we're a French company, as I mentioned, French-inspired food. The gym is very nice. We've got a spa, luxury partnerships. If you're in a suite, you'll have a butler service. And here's some images of kind of what the ship looks like. So it does feel like your own yacht. Outdoor dining when you would like it. When you go, the drinks and everything are included. So it's a very easy experience on board. Here's a diagram of kind of the basic entry, or most of the rooms that we have in the block for Jane are this category, which are prestige. So it's 200 square feet with a 45 square foot private balcony. And it's really well designed for two people. There's space outside for two small, chairs and a small table. Everything you would really want in the room, it's all there. It's quite beautiful. Here are some more images of the ship. You can see the gym is this is a mirror, but the gym is beautiful. Everything about the vessel, normally these blinds are up because when we're in this dining room, there are two restaurants and the blinds are usually up. And it's wonderful because you can sit and eat and you're looking out and you don't have to miss anything on Ponant. No matter where you are, there's opportunity for you to look outside and embrace the beautiful destinations that we're in. And of course, there's a spa, so maybe you do that at your day at sea. So you may notice this is a picture of Antarctica, certainly. We're not going to be seeing icebergs on our trip, but I took this picture. Here's my mom again. She's the star of this presentation, apparently. But I took this picture in one of these rooms. I was like sitting on the bed and looking out to give you kind of an idea of like what it looks like when you're going to take this. I took this with my phone. This is how big the room is. You got a great balcony, nothing to worry about. And this is the lounge here. So when we board the Zodiacs, we kind of all station ourselves in the lounge before we go out to the back deck. It's a little bit about the ship. Not the most important piece, but it's nice to get it right. That's how I feel about the vessel. And it's really, really beautiful. Okay, so we've got our day at sea. It's now November 3rd, and we're arriving in Alotau, Papua New Guinea. It's our first port of call in Papua New Guinea. So we have to, we have to do our immigrations, and the visa is included. We will take care of all of it. And this is our first kind of cultural experience. Alotau is actually a kind of a bigger town. There's about 16,000 people that live here. And there are other cruise lines that will go to this place. So the infrastructure here is a little bit more built out than where we're going to be the following days. And it's great. It's a great introduction. It's also wonderful to see the markets. And in particular, there is a World War II memorial here. So there's a lot of World War II history that is so fascinating throughout here. And so this is the capital of Milne Bay. And so we'll go on a tour here while all of the logistics are being taken care of that we're entering New Guinea. We'll see some cultural performances, some markets, and see the World War II memorial. Then we'll go back on board. We'll have our evening, beautiful dinner, go to bed, ready for adventure. We wake up and the ship is going to just magically be right off these stunning, stunning islands. We're now off of Ferguson Island in the I'm going to say it wrong, Entrecasteaux Islands. I always said it wrong when I was making announcements too. But this place is so, so special. So we're here on Ferguson. This big one is Ferguson. And the ship is going to be like right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I think so. And so there's a village called Day Day Village. We'll arrive there by Zodiac. We'll walk up into the village, and they're very friendly people that live here. But we're really focusing today. We want to see this geology, these hot springs. It's fascinating. There are 3 active volcanoes on this island. And so we'll walk along this trail. I took this picture. And this lady, she's thrilled. Okay, so yams are like a really big piece of New Guinea culture. There's yam festivals. They're really seen as like a status symbol. And people will like pile them around their houses to show their wealth of all these yams. This yam looks just like a bird of paradise. I mean, she's correct. She had just dug this up that day and she was thrilled. She felt like, to her, it's like she won the lottery. She dug up this yam and it's the symbol of the country. And it's like, she's like, I'm the luckiest lady in New Guinea. And she really was. She was so joyful about this yam. So it was so, so cool. So we met these gals, we went walking. And then this lady, she was about to go. So they actually use these hot springs to cook their food. So she was on her way to cook her, I think she had potatoes, probably yam, in this basket. And she's got all of this pandanus leaves here. So she was like, oh, I'm going to go cook my food there. I'll just show you what's up. So she wove this stuff and then put all of her vegetables in it and then put it into the hot spring to cook. And it was amazing. Like, oh my gosh, the way that is this most clever people, truly. So it's such a beautiful place. We'll wander through. We will wear shoes. The locals, they know where to step. We do not. So we will have our shoes on. So that's right here again on Ferguson Island. Ferguson, yes.
That's one yam.
Yeah.
Get out of town.
I know. Look at it. It's so amazing. And truly, like, we'll learn this. Our expedition team will teach us as we go about like the cultural, the culture, the anthropology of the area, and why it really is so different than anywhere else. And a really big part, especially here, and as we get into the Trobriand Islands, is yams. So the fact that she pulled this thing out of the ground, I mean, it was a blessing.
I am curious though, if they're cooking their food in the hot springs,
Mm-hmm.
are people actually going into the hot springs? Or like,
no, it's way hot. No, we're not swimming.
Hot, right?
Yeah, it's like Yellowstone for us. If you've been to Yellowstone National Park, it's like that. We're not getting in these. They're boiling. Yeah. So Another thing is, if you're a birder, this is our first opportunity to see a bird of paradise, which is the curl-crested manicode, which is this bird here. It honestly just kind of looks like a crow most of the time, but it has a very beautiful call, and that's how we will identify it. And we'll start to see other like kind of interesting flora, like these pitcher plants that start to grow in this area. You know, they trap bugs, they're carnivorous plants. We're getting into the wilds here. Okay. Later that day, so that's the morning, we're going to go back to the ship, but we got more to do. We're going to have our lunch on board. The next visit is on DOBU Island. So this is another of those 5 islands in this archipelago. If we didn't see the manicode, we'll hopefully see it here. And we also likely will see white cockatoos here. This is really our first, or I guess maybe we'll see the village of Day, but this village like comes alive for visitors. It's so cool. They do it often. They'll do like a cooking demonstration, and the food is so good. You got to try it. It's all like just delicious coconut milk, and they eat like such really delicious food, and they just sustainably live on these islands. Fantastic music, performances, handicrafts. So we'll spend the later afternoon here on DOBU Island meeting the people. And typically we'll arrive on the Zodiac onto the sandy beach. We'll get out, and the expedition team will say, okay, everybody kind of just hang out here for now because the village wants to show us, their performance. A really great thing about Ponant is when we organize our cultural encounters, we never say, show us this dance or fire dance or the whatever. We don't try to, we don't suggest anything. We simply say, can we visit? And would you like to share something about your culture with us? Because that way it's part of our sustainability practices, but also it really creates very authentic encounters. We had a trip, I guess it was 2 years ago now. If this is our, this is the conversation with how we plan things. And they were in Greenland, and they thought they were going to get like, the Greenlanders said, yeah, well, we would love to, the kids from the school would love to do a cultural performance. And they thought it was going to be like drumming or whatever. And the kids did a dance to like Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. It was really cute. But anyway, so this village really comes alive, and you can see too, as we're approaching, these are all coral bommies. Like this area is just absolutely spectacular. If we have time, we might even snorkel in between these 2 visits. So we'll see a performance. Often it's the school, they sing the New Guinea national anthem. And then often the men of the community will do a dance, and then the women of the community will do a dance, and then follow the kids. And it's just really a joy. They are some of the friendliest people I've ever met. New Guineans by nature are very quick to laugh, very quick to sing, very quick to just crack up. So it's just a really like fun time to go there. I think I might join you, Jane. Okay, so our next day, that was all one day, those 2 places. Our next 2 days, we're in the Trobriand Islands. And this is really, I was really pleased to see this on the itinerary. I've done itineraries in this region, both only doing 1 day and doing 2 days in the Trobriands. And every time we only do 1 day, everybody who knows is like, we should have done 2 days in the Trobriands. So I'm really glad to see that you're getting 2 days. And so we're in the Trobriand Islands, the Islands of Love. And they're known because they're a matriarch. So it's a matriarchal society. They're sort of famous for this practice of this yam harvesting festival, which our anthropologists and expedition team will explain, but it's very famous, and anthropological circles and other people throughout the world know about this because in order to like mix up, I'm going to explain this wrong, but my memory is like in order to kind of like mix up the genetics and stuff in the region, like everybody would come to this festival like with love in mind. So that was like very, very interesting place. And the music is so joyful. It's just such a colorful, beautiful place to go. And this is where I sent my mom off in a dugout. But you can just see the colors of the water. It's so, so beautiful. Here are more photos from my last one of my last visits to the Trobrians. And so you'll get off the Zodiac, and often, there'll be like, everybody's so excited. They've decorated the whole village. And they'll put a garland around your neck and welcome you. You can see the people have adorned themselves to the performance using like coconut oil and then sticking flower petals to it. But it's not just for us. So the villagers themselves are also thrilled about this. This is what's going on. And they've been all getting ready and they're excited. So here's during the men's performance, here's the women's, and this is just everybody else. I think this was a school. Everybody else is just watching. And they kind of just mix in with all of us travelers because we're all here to see the show and it's such a good time. So it really is such a joy. And so this is an example of like what the beach looks like. The Zodiac will pull up, you'll walk up the beach and be welcomed into the village. So usually, again, we see they'll share some kind of cultural performance with us, music, dance songs. That maybe will be like 30, 45 minutes. And then they'll say, welcome, please explore our village. And it's really great. They make such beautiful handicrafts. So you'll have great opportunities to buy baskets and really everything. So we're definitely going to Kirwina, which is this big island. I think so. Our itinerary, if you look at it on the on our website, it says 2 days, but it only mentions one. Part of this is because this trip is so far out. They don't plan November 2022 like we're planning our November 2022. They're like, yeah, you can come. We'll find 2 days of stuff for you to do in November 22. It's going to be great. We're going to plan it right now. So we're definitely going to Kirwina. This small island is called Kitava. That's also a place that loves to have visitors. So it's potential we could go there. But wherever we go, it's going to be absolutely spectacular. So the rhythm of the days in the Trobrians, again, is like either in the morning or the afternoon, you'll see the village, and then vice versa, we'll do the snorkeling. And again, snorkeling is absolutely spectacular. I brought props. I was telling Liz I was so excited. So I don't think the recording is going to get this, so I'll be quick, but here's a sample of a basket. Like, look at this basket work. I don't know if you can see my camera, but that I purchased on Kitava Island back in 2013. They're absolutely stunning. And so they'll lay out like things that they make because they're excited. People are coming to visit, and you can purchase things that it helps sustain the community, and our team will help you make sure that like you're paying in the correct currency, a currency that they can use, and that everything is done like really in a sustainable way. Okay, so after 2 days in the Trobrians, we're at sea for a day and we kind of need a break. We're cool off for a minute. We got a little bit sunburned. So again, the ship has a spa. We'll do lectures. So our expedition team will offer lectures about the marine life and the culture, the flora, fauna that we're seeing, so that we're learning about where we're going. Again, we don't just want to go somewhere. We want to understand somewhere by visiting it and experiencing it. So that's our goal. We'll have a beautiful day at sea, and we will enter into the Solomon Islands in Gizo on November 8th. So, and by the way, most of these are my photos. They're not all my photos. This is not my photo. This is I didn't have photos of these, but just if you're marketing, just FYI for you, Jane and Liz. But Solomon Islands are fantastic. We're in a new country now, so we have to go into Gizo to clear through. And Gizo is, it's the largest town. That's not really saying too much in this area of the Solomon Islands. But the people in the Solomons, and particularly in Gizo, are known as being the best, like some of the best woodworkers, craftsmen in the world. Really, really fabulous, intricate carvings for various woods, ebony, rosewood. They also do fantastic things with like coconut shells. Very, very intricate. It's like world-class carvings. So right where the ship is likely, either the Zodiacs will go up to the pier, or depending on availability at the pier, the ship may be able to go up to it. There's a market right there. That is really fun to explore. So we'll have like a morning in Gizo while we clear in, and we officially are welcomed into the Solomon Islands. Every day is just such a good day. So after that afternoon, that same afternoon, we're gonna pivot to Njari Island, and there nobody lives here. This is just a pristine swimming, diving, snorkeling, pristine wildlife. So all throughout this itinerary, it's perfect for diving and snorkeling. If you're into photography, underwater photography, the light, it's just so good. And thousands of species of fish, all of it. But that's what we're doing in the afternoon. And I want to show you this picture. This would be one of our cruise directors or somebody on our expedition team, or a marine biologist or somebody. So there'll always be a team member on the beach. So here's where the ship is. We are sending our Zodiacs, to these different spots. But if you want to go back, all you have to do is walk up to this team member and say, hey, I want to go back to the ship. They call you a Zodiac, and somebody drives you back. So it's not like you're really stuck. And even though nobody lives here and it's perfectly pristine, this whole area is just full of very curious kids. There's people out fishing. People live here. This is their livelihoods, these places that we are. So we will for sure have visitors like these people that showed up in their dugout canoe just to check it out. And it is really just such a joy to meet the wonderful people who live there. So that will be our afternoon. We'll go back on board. We'll have our recap. We'll have a gin and tonic or whatever with our expedition team. We'll have a beautiful dinner, and we'll sleep well because La Soleil is stunning and beautiful and very comfortable. And the next day we'll wake up and we'll be off of Roderick Bay, the Florida Islands and Solomon Islands. So Roderick Bay is famous. This was an expedition ship called the World Discoverer, and it hit a rock, I think in 2000, I think. So it's just there, but people do live here, and the reef has grown around it, and it is actually like a really interesting snorkeling. So we'll do a Zodiac cruise this day. Here's one of our Zodiacs going to check it out. Again, people live around here, so we'll meet villagers. We'll go ashore for like a welcome ceremony, and we can go through the village. Again, they'll probably be selling. Oh, I didn't show you my second prop. Okay. This is a bowl I bought in Gizo. When I got to Gizo the first time, I don't know if you can see it. So it's absolutely stunning. I was working with somebody who'd been there. She'd been working on ships for like decades. And the morning we got to Gizo, she like came and woke me up really early. And she's like, get all your money. You got to buy a wooden bowl. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, you're gonna buy a wooden bowl here. There's nowhere else in the world you can get these. And she'd been everywhere. She's probably been to like, every country there is. And she was like, this is your assignment. You're gonna buy a wooden bowl. And I'm so glad I did. Thank you, Lynn, because it's absolutely stunning. And so I recommend to you to also buy a wooden bowl in Gizo. So, or anywhere throughout the Solomon Islands. So I have just some more photos from some of my visits in the Solomon Islands villages, again, similar to the Trobrians. As we get closer, we'll maybe firm up our plan a little more, but definitely we're going to be seeing a village each day. We're going to be snorkeling as much as we can. The villages are thrilled to have us there. They're so proud of their beautiful and culture, which is so worth celebrating. They are, just very welcoming and happy. It's a very happy experience. I love this picture. This is my mom. It's like they were taking pictures of this performance, and this little kid just really wanted to see what they were taking pictures of. So just kind of like snuck in between the two of them. So it's just really, really wonderful. Again, more photos from the Solomon Islands. The dances are fabulous. We see enacted different like cultural elements. This particular dance was teaching us the kind of the process of a wedding, of like shielding the bride, and until we get they were kind of like mimicking a wedding ceremony for us, and everybody gets involved, from the little young ones to the village elders. Everybody has participated. It's just so wonderful to see the community. I really want to go back. It's such a good trip. So those will be, another day in the Solomon Islands. And then the following day on the 10th, we're in MALAITA. And again, this is another village where we're seeing what village life is like. This, again, we are sort of a curiosity when we roll up, because at this point, we're way beyond our first port in New Guinea. We're not somewhere where very many cruise ships go. So when our ship rolls up, it's like, what is going on? So people come out just to check. I took this picture from the deck, and it's just all of these dugouts and canoes and outboard motorboats. They want to see us as much as like we want to meet them and see what's going on. So like, what are you doing here? But it's just, it's such a great experience. So again, this village is so beautiful. Something that like I did not know before I traveled to this region, and you will see it in Melanesia, a lot of these people are naturally blonde, including the children. So this photo of this little boy that I took, I was on the deck of the ship and I took the photo, and please ask, you hold up your camera, can I take your picture? And they'll say yes or no. But I was like, he's in this yellow canoe, this little blonde boy. It was something that I had not seen. I grew up here in the West, and it's just like unusual to me to see somebody with this skin color, with this hair color. And a lot of our travelers say, oh, is this like a nutritional thing, or why are these kids blonde? It's just genetics, they're just blonde. So some of the most beautiful people in the whole world you will see. And again, they're so happy to share their culture and their craftsmanship. So in this photo, these women were showing us how they shave the shells into the pieces that go into the carvings. So that's what they were doing there. This kid had a rooster on a stick. I don't know why. It was really funny. So that was that. All right. Somehow it's already November 11th. We have to go home. So we will disembark in Honiara and Guadalcanal. We will get a tour, I believe, a short kind of tour of Guadalcanal before we go to the airport. And this charter flight is included. So we'll all get off the ship together. We'll get on the flight and go to Brisbane together. Honiara, again, it's a bigger town, and they have the airport there. So we'll see. And I think there is another World War II memorial that we see there in Honiara. And we got on a flight to Brisbane. I can't believe the trip is over. Okay, so here's just kind of a snapshot about what's included in our voyage. So all of the meals, the gratuities, taxes, open bar, 24-hour room service, butler service in the suites, Wi-Fi, all of those shore landings, all of those excursions, it's all included. Any park entry fees, some of those places in the Solomon Islands are like protective marine parks where we'll go snorkel, that's included. Snorkel gear is available on board. If you have your own, I usually recommend bringing it, but it's there. And then again, that flight back to Brisbane at the end. So it's really all taken care of. You have nothing to worry about. And the ship is great. The crew is so fantastic about just making special moments. When we're in that island after, the island where nobody lives, they'll bring out usually like a bar. We can sit on the beach and swim and, drink a cocktail or have a cold drink, and just they make it very, very luxe and very great. So Jane and I have been planning this opportunity for quite a while, and she's very smart and did this early, so she has better rates than anybody else. So if you do look at the voyage on the Ponant website, you will notice that the rates that North-South and Jane can offer you are already about $600 to $800 less per person than they are booking it directly with Ponant. And there is a very special opportunity if you do want to reserve your space. for that shortened just $1 deposit. I'll probably let Jane tell you a little bit about that. So you can see what the rates are there. And again, it's all included for 10 nights on board a luxury vessel, private balcony, room service, and even more than the ship, the opportunity to go somewhere that really couldn't go by yourself. And it will be a memory that is unlike anything else, truly. So I hope that you take the opportunity to do it. That's kind of a wrap up on that. And my Pigeon New Guinea, thank you, True, that you will learn Pigeon. You'll try to learn it. It's very fun, but I certainly want to leave some time for questions.
Ellen, I just wanted to point out to everyone, if you could just pop the pricing back on the thing, yeah. So these prices are actually US dollars, and the great thing about the US Canadian dollar at the moment is the Canadian dollar is pretty strong, so it's actually an even better deal than what it would normally be. Basically, what I wanted to do was to create, because we're in the age of COVID and so on. I wanted to create. We only have a small number of cabins available on this departure. So I wanted to create, a reason for wanting to go. So I've created this $1 per person to reserve your space. So that gets your name on the list on a cabin to go on the trip. I've already put down my $1 deposit for the trip, and then the 25% of the value of the trip is due by December 31st. And at that time, if there's others that want to go, I can try and get more space, and depending on what happens. But that's why I created this $1 to reserve your space, was to to kind of get some idea of who wants to go, and create some excitement around going on the trip. So again, the prices are US dollars.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Ellen. Great presentation. I'm actually more interested in going to Papua New Guinea than I ever was before. I'm certainly getting the impression that it is not a heavily touristed area. No. And that Ponant is visiting some places that perhaps a lot of other ships do not go. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these villages, and as expedition travel becomes more and more popular and there's more and more small ships, Ponant's been in business for 30 years. So certainly, we know what we're doing, and we have relationships with our local contacts, and we only go, if we're invited, and, all of that. Maybe you'll see more and more, but it was not uncommon for the last time I went was in 2016. We still, you go and villages will say, we haven't had anybody here in 5 years. And then you'll meet like little kids who are 5, and they have no understanding of like that you exist as a person, because they're living on these little islands. And it's just, it's truly special. And again, when I said this is the difference with this kind of an itinerary, that this is kind of the only way to do this. So yeah, it's really special.
Ellen, I just had a question from one of the participants who was just asking the demographic that we're targeting, and the demographic really is, if you look on Zoom, it's all of you. Yeah. It's me plus the 50 to 85-year-old kind of category. One of the reasons I chose Ponant to do this trip with was so that you did have that refined elegance once you're back on board. So there's the comfort of a nice bed, the comfort of my days of camping overland in Africa are over, I'm afraid. So yeah. It really is that refined kind of understated elegance is what I want to call it.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree with that. And yeah, as far as our general demographic on voyages like this, absolutely. It tends to be, honestly, 60s, 70s would be the majority. We get a number younger and we get a number older. And it's, I think for whatever reason, it's people who find out about this. But yeah, certainly it's the people that have their cameras on, you'll be among peers.
Among friends.
There was another question, Ellen, and that was about single cabins. And just so everyone knows, and I'm just telling the information to everybody at the same time, I only have one single cabin, you know, and it's actually a pretty decent price. I'm going to follow up with all of you with an email, just with a little bit of more information, as well as pricing for singles, as well as or solos, as well as you know, per person pricing. So for anyone interested in a solo berth, I can certainly send that information out. It should go out probably tomorrow or Friday.
And the solo room, it's not a different room than the other rooms. So what the pictures you saw, it's just that, it's just one person in it instead of two.
Yeah.
And for all of the, if you are planning to go into share, the beds can be either two twins or a queen. It is great, you know, for sharing whichever way you would like it configured. So there's flexibility on the rooms as well.
And then there was another quick question about flights to Australia. So, you know, some people may want to go a little earlier and do pre and post travel arrangements in Australia, and we can certainly, you know, help you with that. You know, the great thing about Australia and why this trip is so fantastic is, of course, Air Canada now fly directly to, well, were flying before the pandemic, directly to Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne. So it's a short, you know, hopper flight from Brisbane up to Cairns to start this trip. So I can certainly, you know, or any of the staff at North South, if you want to work with, you know, someone, one of your favorite agents there, can help you with your flight to and from Australia. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Ellen, can you talk a little bit about the expedition experts you have on board, and also if there's opportunities for other excursions? So let's say someone was interested in scuba diving as an example. Is that something that they can also arrange?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Yeah, so the expedition team, and when we say expedition cruising, really what that means is the guides are with you. The guides are on board. So we will have a full team for this itinerary. We'll have a marine biologist, a ornithologist, a geologist, probably an anthropologist, historian perhaps for all the World War II history. So I'll have people that, bless you, that are all, you know, really very knowledgeable in this area. And then as far as, you know, typically expedition, it can be a little bit surprising. You know, if we see a big pod of dolphins and we're like, let's go check this out, we're going to do the snorkeling a little bit later. That often happens in this region with manta rays. Sometimes you just see manta rays all feeding and it's like, get all the people in the water. We're just throwing people in the water, go check it out. But so we'll be very like impromptu to make things happen. But we do offer diving. Diving is not included. It is an additional cost. You just sign up when you sign up for the trip. Just let Jane know that you want to be a diver. And we have pricing for it. You need to be advanced open water certified to dive on this itinerary. And so certainly we can do that. And if you are a diver and you're interested, I mean, this is like the best place to dive ever. You should, I highly recommend it. But just let us know and we'll make sure that you have all the information of like what we provide versus what you should bring and the level of that you need to be before you come.
Ellen, maybe you could just also go over a little bit about dress code on board and for the excursions and things like that, so everyone has a bit of an idea about that.
Yeah, I think that, so as I said, I brought my mom, I'm take my mom on 2 trips now that I've worked on, and both times she like stresses out about what to pack clothing. She's like, gets into a disarray of like sartorial distress, like what should I wear? And it's like, just wear your normal clothes, it's fine. But we are not super fancy, so even though we're luxury, it's not ritzy, you know, white gloves, chandeliers, all of that. The dress code on board, country club casual, whoever made up that word, that applies. So in the dining room, so there are 3 kind of 3 places to dine on the vessel. There's the a la carte dining room, beautiful windows. You can sit there and just look out at the stunning area. The dress code in there is no denim and no flip-flops. And we would prefer it if you'd wear like a polo shirt instead of a t-shirt, but we're not going to like send you away. And then there's a more casual, like kind of a buffet style restaurant, which there's really no dress code for. And of course, room service is included as well. So that's kind of a little on the dress code. We do have the 2 evenings, the captain's welcome. So the first night, actually that'll probably be the evening of the night at sea. So we'll get on in Cairns, we'll get settled, and then the following night, when we're after our day at sea, that'll probably be the captain's welcome, where the captain will introduce himself and introduce all the crew. The crew will dress up. They love it. They're, you know, they're wearing the same thing every day. They're loving it. Some of the gals will put on like gowns, like, you know, they get into it. But for us, like as travelers, it's whatever you want to do. We have a lot of Australians that travel with us. They tend to be more casual than Americans and Canadians. Jane's smiling. But we also, you know, we have some French people that travel with us. They maybe are a little bit more. So when the captain's welcomes that I have attended with Ponant, I've worn like a nice blouse with slacks and, you know, a ballet flat and some earrings, and I'm not standing out. So make it what you will.
Yeah, I can't unmute. I have to unmute people individually, but I can actually, people can unmute themselves. Sorry, I have to do that. If you want to ask a question live and in person, you can unmute yourselves. But we do have a question in our chat box about what the temperature would be at that time of year. What can we expect in terms of temperature and humidity?
Let me think about this. November. I would have to look it up for you.
Jane, maybe you have some thoughts on
Yeah,
what November in Australia is like.
Yeah, it's kind of the northern area of Australia. So, you know, at that time of the year, you can expect temperatures at night to be, you know, around 22, and during the day between 28, you know, to 30, maybe even a little bit warmer, depending, you know, where you are exactly. But one of the reasons I chose that time of the year was because the weather, you know, living in Canada after all these years of, you know, living in Australia, I didn't want to, you know, completely subject myself to, you know, 40-degree heat for, you know, 2 weeks at a time.
It should be kind of a little bit of a shoulder season, so we can expect some heat probably, but not
oppressive.
Summer in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
And you have air conditioning on the ship, and, you know, lots of snorkeling.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? You can either type them in the chat or unmute yourself just to ask them live before we let Ellen go. We will be following up with an email that has the recording, as I mentioned earlier, along with some additional information, just so you have it in print. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to your North-South Travel Advisor. If you don't have one in particular, of course, Jane will be leading this trip, so she has all of the information that you're going to need. And she is a native Australian, so she can tell you all about Australia as well. Denise is asking us if there are laundry facilities on the ship.
Yes, not for you to do, but there is laundry service. So you'll get a laundry bag in your room, put what you would like laundered in it. They usually bring it back the next day. So you certainly don't need to bring like 2 weeks worth of clothing. Laundry is an additional charge, but it's very reasonably priced. So, you know, it's like, if I were to send this shirt, I think it would probably be like $6 or something like that. So it's not going to break the bank.
I'm curious about the currency, you know, as you're going around these islands, are they using Australian dollars for the most part, or?
So the currency on board is euros, but you can use your credit card or whatever on board.
Right.
We will likely arrange a currency exchange for when we go to, and the team does that, because again, these are very remote islands. We don't want to leave them with a bunch of Canadian and US and dollars and euros, you know, they're like, thank you for the paper. So we want to be giving them a New Guinean money. So we usually will arrange that on board to help you with a currency exchange.
Something we don't have to necessarily worry about in advance will be those facilities on board for when we get off, and
yeah, or
yeah,
and the team will tell you too, like if when we go into our first stop in New Guinea, they may say, hey, you should exchange some currency if you want to exchange currency now. If they're not planning on, I've seen it done a number of ways, but whatever it is, the team knows what they know. You want to buy stuff. They know that we want to support the local community. So whatever is the easiest way at the time, they'll make sure that you're prepared.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any other questions? You can always follow up with questions by email or giving us a call later on as well if you have anything additional. Jane, do you have any closing remarks before?
No, I just wanted to let you all know that I hope at least some of you will be able to join me on this trip. I'm super excited, as I mentioned earlier, about it. After seeing every time Ellen comes into the office, or used to come into the office, this was, you know, a really top destination of mine. And one of the reasons I chose it was because a lot of you haven't been to this destination. So, you know, it's the early bird gets the worm. So it's $1 down for your deposit for the trip. And you don't have to really worry about payment until December 31st, which is the 25% due, or you can pay your 25% now if you want to. It's up to you. But yeah, I hope it's been interesting for all of you. And I wanted to thank both Liz and Ellen for, thank you for such an amazing presentation, filled with passionate, you know, information and advice. Ellen, thank you very much. And yeah, any last questions? Oh, Liz, I think there's a couple of more questions. Oh, no.
They may be coming to you directly, Jane, because I'm not seeing.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Sounds good. Great.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us.
And I'll follow up with everyone with an email with a little bit more information. The